my gilded delight, where the chandeliers sparkle through every night. A palace of splendor where dreams used to stay. Oh, take me back to Bel Air's golden array.
I was only a child the first time I walked the grand halls of the Belleview Biltmore, and I never forgot it. The creak of the floors, the sunlight pouring through massive windows, the quiet dignity of a place that felt frozen in time. It was more than a hotel. It was a piece of living history. Years passed and life moved on, but then, in 2015, the iconic hotel was torn down, replaced by more characterless condominiums, as if Florida did not have enough already. I often have wondered, how could this happen? This video will tell the story of the rise, fall, and reinvention of the White Queen of the Gulf, and to attempt to answer a key question: who killed the Bellevue Biltmore? During the 1890s, railroad and shipping magnate Henry Plant was busy building his empire on Florida's Gulf Coast, laying down tracks that brought wealthy northerners into what was then considered the American tropics. His plan was to construct a series of luxurious hotels that he could integrate into his rail and shipping lines, known as the Plant System. On the Pinellas Peninsula, in the area that would become Bel Air, was a slice of paradise where the bluffs offered breathtaking views of the Intercoastal Waterway. Here, Plant decided that he would build the Grand Bellevue Hotel in 1896. The Bellevue Hotel opened its doors for the winter season of 1897. It was unlike anything Florida had seen before. A sprawling, all-wooden, Queen Anne-inspired resort made of native heart pine, it offered elegance and exclusivity in equal measure. The hotel was outfitted with electric lights, telegraph lines, a luxury train connection, and broad verandas that caught the Gulf breeze. It was soon painted a striking white with a green roof, a color scheme that would become iconic. When Henry died, his son Morton Plant took over and expanded the hotel further. Under his stewardship, the Bellevue became a full-fledged resort destination. Morton added 2 18-hole Donald Ross-designed golf courses, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and wintertime activities that would attract America's most notable families. The hotel became a seasonal home to the Vanderbilts, the DuPonts, Rockefellers, and even U.S. presidents. Several wealthy families constructed their own wintertime residence on the perimeter of the hotel's grounds. In the 1920s, hotel ownership passed to John McEntee Bowman, the man behind the Biltmore Hotel chain. He changed the name to the Bellevue Biltmore and expanded operations. He also began carving up some of the surrounding property to sell off as part of an upscale real estate development called Bel Air Estate. For a time, it seemed untouchable, but the Florida real estate market was one of bubble and busts even back in the 1920s. Despite the crushing blow of the Great Depression, the Bellevue Biltmore weathered the storm with resilience. While many grand hotels shuttered, the Biltmore remained open, adapting to leaner times by hosting longer-term guests and offering modest rates, a testament to its enduring appeal and the loyalty of its patrons. During World War II, the U.S. Army Air Corps moved in, using the Bellevue as auxiliary housing for military personnel based out of MacDill or Drew Fields. After the war, hotelier Bernard Powell bought the property at auction. He was ambitious, expanding the building even further and reopening it as a grand post-war resort. The Bellevue grew to over 820,000 square feet, for a time becoming the largest occupied wooden structure in the United States. But behind the scenes, the sheer size of the building made maintenance a nightmare. Powell made extensive renovations and improvements to the hotel during his ownership. This included the construction of a new cabana club for hotel guests. It was once just short boat ride across the Intercoastal Waterway on Sand Key Beach. However, business became inconsistent as American vacation preferences changed over the decades. To counteract the lack of business, Powell began selling of hotel acreage and assets. U.S. Steel's real estate investment division purchased the East and West golf courses in the early 70s. Additionally, they acquired empty land parcels once controlled by the Bellevue. This began a period of condominium tower construction on former hotel grounds, a trend that would accelerate through the 1980s. Slowing but surely, the hotel's footprint shrunk, and blocking out beautiful views. The cracks were beginning to show, literally and figuratively. Then in 1990, Mido Development, a Japanese firm, bought the hotel and renamed it the Bellevue Mido. Their changes were not well received. They added a pagoda-style lobby that clashed awkwardly with the original design, and maintenance continued to lag. The upper floors were shuttered for safety, and guests became harder to attract. Miami hotelier Salim Jetha bought the property in 1997 and tried to restore its original name and some of its charm, but the cost of real restoration was far beyond what he could manage. Then came the double blow from Mother Nature, Hurricanes Jean and Francis in 2004, which ripped through the aging structure, tore open the roof, and left the building exposed to the elements. By now, the vultures were circling. Developers saw dollar signs where others saw history. In 2005, DeBartolo Development made a bid to buy and demolish the hotel for condos and shops, but the community revolted. Articles in the Tampa Bay Times chronicled the pushback. Locals formed preservation groups, and petitions circulated, and for a brief moment it seemed the Bellevue would be spared from the wrecking ball. In 2007, a glimmer of hope emerged when Legg Mason Real Estate bought the property for $30 million with plans for a $100 million renovation. The town of Bel Air signed off on the ambitious project in 2008, but as always, the devil was in the details. Nearby residents filed lawsuits over traffic and noise. The roof continued to leak. The town began fining the owners $250 a day for code violations. The 2008 Great Recession ended the restoration plans as funding dried up and Legg Mason pulled out. By 2011, the writing was on the wall. The Bellevue Biltmore was a decaying Gilded Age relic. Ownership would pass through a few more holding companies that would systematically strip away hotel assets. They immediately began subdividing the land, slicing away at the very elements that had once defined the hotel's prestige. These sales included the tennis courts and land where the former hotel servants' quarters stood. Parcels along Bellevue Boulevard were sold to condo developers who quickly erected mid-rise luxury units that physically blocked hotel views. Slowly but surely, the White Queen would be boxed in and severed from the bay. Preservationists and residents alike watched as the hotel was slowly being dismantled. Next came the sale of the hotel's historic Cabana Club on Sand Key, closing that chapter of the hotel's history forever. Parcel sales also included an iconic waterfront strip, land that once offered unobstructed views of Clearwater Bay, and severing the hotel from the shoreline. Then, Bellevue Biltmore Golf Club was sold to the town of Bel Air for a mere $3.4 million in satisfaction of all outstanding fines. Preservationists pointed to the town's failure to enforce fines, its acceptance of developer-friendly replatting plans, and the dismissive tone taken with residents who raised objections. Preservationists Ray Claire Johnson and Diane Hine led a coalition that accused town leaders of deliberately letting the hotel fall into ruin so they could greenlight demolition. But unfortunately, the courts weren't sympathetic. In late 2014, a federal judge dismissed the preservationist lawsuit, clearing the path for demolition. Enter Mike Cheesem of JMC Communities, a developer with a slick track record and a clear plan. He bought the property for just over $6 million and proposed a compromise. He would save the original 1897 lobby and a few adjoining rooms, about 38,000 square feet, and tear down the rest to build luxury condos. Bel Air approved the plan, and in May 2015, demolition began. The community watched in heartbreak as the White Queen of the Gulf was torn to pieces. The very structure that gave birth to Bel Air, Florida, was now a pile of rubble. Next came a massive feat of engineering, moving and rotating the section that would be saved and renovated into a small hotel. This included the grand lobby, central staircase, and part of the guest wing. It was reinforced with steel beams, lifted using hydraulic jacks, and placed on a system of dollies for transport. Then it was slowly rolled across the property to a new foundation. In 2018, the Bellevue Inn opened, a boutique 35-room hotel that honors what came before. It's lovely, really, elegant, quiet, respectful. A fantastic restoration job, but just a tiny fragment of what once was. As I return to the question that brought me here, who killed the Bellevue Biltmore? However, there wasn't a single individual responsible for the downfall of the hotel. Several groups bear some fault, starting with a succession of owners who made big promises only to drastically underdeliver. They slice up the valuable property of the Bellevue and allowed developers to erect condo towers that blocked hotel views of the water. The town government of Bel Air, who greenlit its destruction and did little to enforce historic preservation laws. Then there are those residents who lived nearby that filed lawsuits against the hotel and were more concerned with their property values over preserving history. And of course, there were the developers who lobbied lawmakers to pass laws to weaken historic protections and salivated at the very thought of getting their hands on a slice of prime real estate. The resurrected version of the White Queen of the Gulf stands amongst buildings without stories, facades without soul, windows that reflect nothing but sky. What was once a place of character and charm stands plain, luxury condos that mimic the architecture of a Soviet city. What was taken wasn't just a building, it was a piece of Florida's soul, quietly paved over and sold by the square foot.
Back to Bellevue, where the past whispers sweet, with the charm of an age that no one can repeat. From the grand marble halls to the breeze by the shore, I long for the Bellevue, forever I'll adore. The laughter of ladies in silks that would gleam, the gentlemen dancing, their eyes full of dream, the clink of fine glasses, the songs in the air. Oh, Bellevue, you're more than a memory to bear. They say time moves on, leaves its treasures behind, but Bellevue, you're etched in the heart of my mind. A jewel of the ages, you shone like a star, now a shadow of splendor, but perfect you are. Back to Bellevue, where the past whispers sweet, with the charm of an age that no one can repeat. From the grand marble halls to the breeze by the shore, I long for the Bellevue, forever I'll adore. If I could